PHP program at Microsoft. So now you know me, I want to know who you are. So are there here some developers in the room? Please stick your hands. Okay, lots of them. Are there some architects in the room? A few less. Okay. Operations guys, people we do use the BizTalk 360 portal of Savannah, yeah? Or use other tools, of course. Some sponsors with the money in the room? No? Okay, that's the right audience we want to have. So the purpose of this session today is I want to give you another view on BizTalk deployment. We all know how hard it sometimes can be to have a BizTalk application deployed from dev to test to production. And it's not only get an application from dev to test to prod, it is also how to maintain this, how to maintain change requests, because we are doing more change requests, and that's the more advantaged and the more difficult part in a BizTalk environment. So I just want to give you how we at CNX think about this topic. But first of all, what is Microsoft offering out of the box? MSIs, scripting using BTS Task and PowerShell, that's pretty much it if we just read the book of Microsoft itself. And what do? Are there some people, when they release their BizTalk environments, are there people in the room that are just using the Microsoft way of working and using the MSI parts? Go to development, export MSI, go to test, import MSI. Okay, only one. Are there some people that using scripting, using the scripting languages, BTS Task, PowerShell scripts? Are there some people using the BizTalk deployment framework from Codeplex? A few more. Aims for BizTalk, it's another tool which is specialized in. Okay, none of you? Are there maybe some people that are using other stuff? Like? Okay.
Nolio.
Nolio? Okay. The name rings a bell by me, but is it a fancy tool? Okay. I've never seen it by myself, but if it's do the job, it's okay, of course. So, but first of all, we need to have a BizTalk application anyway. So we are developers and we develop typical projects where we create receive ports, orchestrations and send ports and schemas and mappings and stuff like that. So this is just a technical view of what we are producing during our time as BizTalk developers. Now, I want to give you another view on the same picture, how BizTalk is thinking about this picture. And here is how these BizTalk objects are related to each other and how much objects you need to take care of. The yellow buttons are BizTalk assemblies. The blue ones here are BizTalk applications. The red ones are ports and receive locations. And the blue ones, the dark blue ones, are BizTalk artifacts, schemas and mappings that are part of a BizTalk assembly. So lots of different types of objects, and they are all related to each other. Sometimes it's very clear. A mapping is part of a BizTalk assembly, that's very clear. But a send port that's related to a receive port, that's less clear. It's a BizTalk developer who chooses to set a filter on the send port, which send ports will process a message coming in a specific receive port. And this is then the very simple, my first project. But BizTalk solutions always grow. And we create a second project. And as you can see here, I've already reused a pipeline because I've reused a common pipeline which I can develop only once, and it's in the BizTalk application C, and my project A and B are in BizTalk application A and B. So you can see here there will be a dependency between these BizTalk applications because I'm using common objects. And if my project grows, also the amount of objects involved in my project are growing. And if it's not enough, I'm also including maybe some objects that are not BizTalk application related, such as parties. if we are going to add also parties in an EDI scenario, for example, it's become even more complex. And it's growing, and it is a huge amount of things we need to take care of in a BizTalk deployment, because everything needs to be there, otherwise our application will not work. So at the CNext, we have decided to take a step behind and said, okay, what do we want as a BizTalk developer to deal with this, to get these BizTalk applications from dev to test to production? What do we want? A one-click deployment tool would be very handy. The less manual actions, the better, so the ideal world is a one-click deployment tool. A unit of deployment as small as possible. In the out-of-the-box scenario of Microsoft, the export MSI, the unit of deployment, it's containing already a lot of stuff. If you are unlucky and you need to take care of a BizTalk standard version and you only have 5 BizTalk applications, it will be a real big unit of deployment. So also because of the timing, if you want to get, if you want to have your downtime of your BizTalk environment as short as possible, and you have very big units of deployment, the timing to get it deployed will increase, of course. So minimal deployment and downtime. So the second and the third one are, of course, related to each other. What do we want? A functional process is not exactly the same as a BizTalk application. My example on the screen where I'm reusing custom pipelines and I'm reusing common objects, common property schemas, common pipelines for different functional process to get working, we might need more BizTalk applications than just only one. A functional process is also not equal as a bunch of BizTalk artifacts only. Sometimes we create custom SQL tables, custom stored procedure, web services, whatever. All this stuff needs to be deployed on the BizTalk application server to get your whole application works, to get your functional processing work. We also want to deal with different environments. Dev, test, UAT, prod, maybe some others. We also want to deal with multi-node environments, to have 1, 2, 3, 4 BizTalk application servers running on the same BizTalk group. Some things need to be done on a BizTalk management database level, some things need to be done on every BizTalk application server itself. We also want to have a good developer experience, and the good developer experience is I do not want to take care about releases and deployment, I just want to do my work. But we also want to have a good operator experience. He wants to operate his BizTalk environment and he wants to have it running smoothly. So he wants to have a release which is stable. He wants to have in the weekend that he needs to deploy the new version of the applications, that the deployment is going smoothly and fast, and then he can go home again and he doesn't need to call the developer because something is going wrong. And then there is also the manager experience. The manager would say hello on Friday and come in on Monday. Everything was fine this weekend, guys. All right, everything was fine, and we can go on with our projects. So that's a bunch of things we want. And can we make this all happen? Probably not. It's a very huge challenge. But at least we have a goal, and we will try to get there as close as possible. Another thing I want to mention is the difference between environments. The nature of BizTalk, messaging processing itself is testable through environments. A message should be processed the same way on dev, on test, on production. But what about transport? It's the nature of BizTalk, where BizTalk is the integration platform, and my binding files, for example, where the transport is defined, where my endpoints are defined, are different in dev and test and production. So it's the nature of BizTalk. Your different environments are effectively different. The very first test of my production environment will be the first message that's going through my BizTalk production environment. There is no way to test will this FTP receive location works. There are firewalls in between the production environments which are not in the test environment. So how can we deal with these differences? Sometimes a receive location is on file on development, for example, and it's only FTP for production. So how can I test my FTP adapter capabilities if there is no FTP server on dev? So I want to take you on a journey where we at CNext have taken to deal with all these challenges. So what is our cure for the pain? And we just want to share it with you, and then you can take it to your companies and have a think about it, and then maybe you can try to build something for yourself. So what do we need to make this all happen? We need an object model. We need the structure I've shown, the picture I've shown before, with all those topics and all those dependencies. We need it, and it must be as accurate as can be. We need it because we want to generate an action list. As you all know, if you want to change a mapping in BizTalk and you want to redeploy in change request scenario, you want to redeploy that assembly byte for the mapping. If this mapping is used by a send port, you can just not remove it from your BizTalk and add the new version of the mapping. It will complain because the mapping is used by the send port. So we need to be able to generate an action list where we first remove the send port or remove the dependency of the mapping on the send port, and after that we can remove the assembly with the mapping itself. So we need that model. We need to know which objects are related to which other objects. What do we need? Another thing we need is the easy maintenance of that object model. The success of the action list that will be generated is based on the accuracy of the object model itself. So we need to maintain that object model in a very easy way. And the most easy way that we can think about this is auto-discovery. Go and find it out by yourself. So another thing we need is an object store. An object store where we can store all deployable objects in. So we can store all binding information for the send ports and the receive ports for the different environments, because these binding files will be different for all these different environments. We need to store also all the assemblies. Maybe we need to store also something we can use to deploy a web service in IIS. Or we need to store a SQL script because we want to have also our custom table and custom stored procedure deployed in the runtime. What else? We need also a tool able to generate that action list. If we have got this object model, then we need a tool that's able to generate an action list based on that object model for a specific object I want to redeploy. I have done a change in this mapping in this assembly over there. Now I want to change it. Just generate my action list, and I as a developer, I do not want to take care about all the other objects that need to be taken into account in my action list. And the last thing is we need a tool able to execute that action list, of course. So, what have we done? We create our object model and we put it in a custom deployment database. The maintenance of that object model is based by an MMC snap-in we have created with a connection to the BizTalk management database. And after that, we just instruct the tool, there is a BizTalk management database, go and discover for yourself what are all different objects in my, for example, development BizTalk environment, so I'm able to easily go from dev to test to production. What else? We need is object store, and we also store all deployable objects into the same database. So we're not only going to BizTalk how much send ports do you have, but give me also the binding for the specific send port and store it in the object store. We need also the tool label to generate an action list, and we have created an WPF application for the user for it. And we also have a custom build action for TFS build server. So if you are using TFS and TFS build server, you will be able to store the output that's generated by the build server, store it into the object model and in the object store for your specific TFS environment on that specific case. And then the tool able to execute the action list for us is a WCF service on every node in the environment. So the WPF application for the user is then able to talk with all these WCF services on every node in the environment to do the right actions that needs to be done there on all that servers. Anyone who wants to see this application? Right. So first, there is a BizTalk application over here, and there is no BizTalk at all, just a standard BizTalk application we use with a clean install of BizTalk. After that, we do very good at, we open Visual Studio, we create the BizTalk application, and we deploy this solution. We deploy this solution to our BizTalk environment. So this is the stuff you all know and you're all good at, and that's the stuff where you want to concentrate on. Just to show you that I'm starting from scratch here. It's still deploying, I guess. It's a very big application, of course. Oh. Voilà. The deploy succeeded, so we refresh our BizTalk group here, and we have got a couple of BizTalk application here. You see my project A, my project B, my project C with the common pipeline, some common objects, common property schema, common schema, all deployed over there. Then I need some binding files. Over here. I need some binding files over there. Whoops. This one. Take the right one. No. Voila. I need, of course, my references because of the pipeline, and I need them there too. Binding. This one over there. That's already better. And this one over there. And normally now I've got my development work done, my development environment is ready, I can test it and I can say, okay, everything is working like here. And as you can see, I've also some party information. I've got a home party, a party partner A and a partner party B. And these send ports to partner B are used over here, and everything is there. So that was the easy part for the developer. He tested and it said, okay, it's fine to go right now. Then we have created, like I've said, an MMC snap-in. And I connect it to the BizTalk management database. And when I do refresh over here, you can see that my BizTalk applications I've just deployed on my BizTalk environment are here, but they are there with the red cursor over it. This means that this BizTalk application is within BizTalk, but it's not in my deployment database. It's not in my deployment object model. The reason is pretty simple, because I've cleaned my object model before I started the demo. So nothing over there, it's just a clean install of our tool. So we need to have the auto discovery, and I'm just going to a project and I click on the right side and then add application. And from now on, the tool is going to BizTalk management database, does all the discovery, the auto discovery from all objects, all assemblies, send ports, whatever, all parties, and all the dependencies on it. And maybe you have mentioned it, I've directly pushed the demo project B, and we know in front there will be a dependency on BizTalk application demo project C because of the pipeline. And by the way, there is also another one on the demo common, because I've used a common schema which was deployed in the demo common BizTalk application. And by the way, there is also, of course, a dependency on the BizTalk EDI, because I've used some EDI stuff, and there is also one on BizTalk system, because every application has a dependency on the BizTalk system. So pretty much everything in my BizTalk environment right now was somewhere related to my project B. And that's why it's taking some time to do the auto discovery, because it's also behind the screens using BTS task to generate a binding file for all these different applications, and it's storing all these binding files also in the object store underneath.
Is it already compatible with 2013?
Yes, it's one tool. We have a version from 2006 and then all above, but it's a different one for 2006 or 2 and 2009, and then a new one for 2010 and 2013. Yeah. So everything auto discovered. And that's the disadvantage of using an MMC snap-in. Refresh it, and now you can see everything is over there. And because of the dependencies, it has taken all it in one go. So now we have got our object model built, and another advantage we like is now we have also a tool that is able to do some reversion engineering on it. We can also use it to do some I know.
Okay.
For example, we can also, getting out of this tool, all the dependencies. So this specific send port I've selected right now, which are my underlying dependencies. So it's also impact analysis. If I want to change something on the specific send port, and I do a redeployment of this specific send port, what other objects will come with it? And if we take something in the common, for example, I've also created a common property schema where some routing properties are in it. The list is becoming long. A whole bunch of BizTalk objects are related to this one. And you can see they are all in different BizTalk applications. All right? So okay, we have done now the auto discovery part, and now we really want to deploy something on, for example, another environment, the test environment. And for that, we have got an WPF application. which is now on the wrong screen. And it should be on this screen. So I choose my own computer over here as the environment I want to deploy. Here is standing a deploy, an undeploy, and an all action. The difference between these options are generate me an action list that will only contains deploy actions or only contains undeploy actions. I have chosen for the all. Give me the undeploy actions first, and after that all the deploy actions. And that's the typical case in a change request. We want to change something. And in this case, we are going for the hardest part in a normal situation, the property schema, because it was used by everything. And we have seen it also in the list of dependencies. This property schema is used by a lot of objects in my BizTalk environment. So now I want to do a change on that specific property schema. What's my minimal axial list that I need to execute if I want to redeploy this specific property schema? So I choose that one, and the tool will generate the action list. And if you see this, that's exactly what you should have done in a manual way. You need to stop the orchestrations, you unbind the orchestrations, you need to undeploy the send port references on a party and the send port references on an agreement, because if you do not want to remove the send port references on parties and agreements, you are not able to remove the send port. So remove the send ports, remove some dependent assemblies, and after that you can redeploy it all in the other way around, of course. Yes, question?
For example, when I export import binding files, XML files, I lose the username password configuration for example, FTP.
It's the same here in this tool, and for the same reason.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier.
Yeah. But to also give an answer on that one, on a lot of adapters, I do not say all adapters, but on a lot of adapters you are able to use SSO applications. And SSO applications for us is just another deployable object. And if then the name of the SSO application is within your binding file, and then you do not have a problem with that. It's like I said before, the generation of the binding file is just using BTS task, and it's BTS task that's removing the passwords out of it, right? So I've got my action list, and here I can decide as a operations guy, are all these actions needed? And I can check, uncheck the one I really want to execute. So I have a mechanism where now I can have a double check for myself. Is this all relevant? Is this action list what I think about it should be? And for now I said, okay, yeah, that's fine. You can do whatever you want to think to do. Give it a title just for the log information, stuff like that. And push the start button. And now the tool is going, hopefully, do whatever I think he wants to do. And indeed, it's undeploying everything. It's giving some status information so you can follow where it is. And if we now going to BizTalk and see to the specific applications, then we should see that effectively the send ports are gone and the assemblies are gone, and after the undeployment is done, the redeployment will take care. And for us, a BizTalk application itself is just another object that we can deploy, and we can use BizTalk applications where they were meant to be for. A functional group of objects that needs to be together in a functional perspective. But we are able to use common BizTalk applications where we can store some common objects, common pipelines, common schemas, whatever. So, and in a few moments I hope there will be a successful deploy at the end of this action list, and then we are all happy. Seeing this for a developer experience, it was not hard to be. It was just some clicks, generate my object model. Okay, we need to do some more steps to release stuff and dev to test to production and stuff like that. For the operations guy, it was also not a very difficult task to just, because we have also the ability to group some bunch of objects that you want to have in a change request, so you can group it, and then the operations guy only need to click redeploy that specific change request, and all objects in the change request will be taken care of. So for the operation guy, it was also not a very difficult task. We take care about the multi-node environment, so if you have a BizTalk environment with 4 nodes, all these actions will be distributed to all these 4 nodes. And hopefully the manager will also be pleased when at the end the deployment will be successful. Are there any questions until this point? Yes?
Can you manually define a sequence, a different sequence of a different sequence deployment? I mean, you have a couple of objects and you want to force that object was deployed before the other one?
No, and there's a specific reason for that one, because we do not choose the ordering of the actions. It's BizTalk as a product that choose it. Okay, I know what you mean, that some of the actions is in the same, say, level of deployment, and then if I first deploy my project A or first my project B, okay, BizTalk doesn't take care, and in this scenario it will be randomized. But the ordering of all these actions, it's chosen by the object model. They are dependencies from one to each other, so that's the reason also we do not allow to reorder it, because otherwise you might be able to break the whole action.
The difference, because just imagine that you have one orchestration that call another orchestration using directly a message box, so there is no real dependency.
Yeah.
You need to define a sequence, because you can't, if I'm not wrong. You know?
I get the question even better right now. In that case, we give you the capability to add some more references. So in that case, you as a developer can define, okay, this specific send port in that specific application, okay, I know it's not related to the specific receive port, but you know as a developer there will be a publish and subscribe, and they are in a functional way related, and then give you the ability to draw the line and draw the dependency by yourself. And in that case, the ordering will be fine again. And in that case, it's going even further. If you do that, and you only want to redeploy the send port, right? In a technical point of view, there is no relation with the receive port. If you just throw away the send port and redeploy it, it will succeed and it will be going fine, right? In this case, the tool will also generate an action for stop receive location at the beginning and start receive location at the end, just to be sure no extra message is coming in while I'm going my send port away and put it back again. Is that an answer to your question? Yeah. Others? Yes?
Is it possible to just redeploy one application?
Yeah, again, over there, for us, a BizTalk application is just another object that you need to take care about, right? So, yes, you can, in the tool, if you need to select which object you want to deploy, you can select a BizTalk application. And indeed, all artifacts in that specific application will be part of that deployment, of course.
But it does not interfere with existing applications. Let's say I have some applications which need to run 24/7.
Yeah.
They just have a maintenance window, and I just need to update one specific flow.
Yeah, but in that case, my example over here with my common property schema, if you really want to redeploy that common property schemas, and it's must take into account other objects from other applications, yeah.
So only if there is a reference, then you undeploy everything, which is normal.
Yeah, and if there is not, I can show you if it's just, if I do a generate action list for the one specific send port and there is no relations with it, okay, just removing the send port and just only that one send port object out of the application, so not the whole complete application, just only undeploy send port, remove it, and put it back with a new version. Right. So we are really going for the minimal action list to get the downtime as small as possible. Right. Others? I was given a time frame of 45 minutes. I guess I made it. So thank you very much for listening. Okay.